Hello there, I finally have a new video idea, and what sparked it was the third figure that was meant to come in the mail. I was gonna fill the void with the unboxing video, which was gonna be edited, but I ended up scrapping it. That's something that's been happening a ton to me. I come up with a good video idea, or I plan to edit it, and abort the project halfway through, which sucks ass. Hopefully this video ain't the case. I just received me a G1 reissue Skids and really liked him, but to spice some things up I decided to compare him with another G1-ish blue guy car boss. And I knew they'd be different, but it's kind of interesting with what differences there are and how G1 changed in such a way. I have tons of thoughts regarding it, so making it into a video is the next logical step. The main theme of this video is the difference between G1 in the beginning when they adopted Takara's diaclone and microchange lines to turn them into yada yada yada, you've heard all this shit before. And they kept selling the rebranded bots, but by the end of 1985, they blew past every single transforming robot there was, and they just couldn't stop since the Transformers were so popular to even warrant a film in 1986, where they ended up murdering everyone to make way for the new characters. These new dudes were a bit strange. They still had their die-cast parts, well, some of them, but felt more like toys than collectible jagged knives. They felt more plastic, and the materials were sort of way thicker as well. I recently bought 3 of my first G1 toys and put them into 2 groups. Group 1 is Bumblebee and Skids, with Group 2 consisting of Boss. B and Skids were part of the 1984 to 85 line, which is essentially just the same thing. Skids will be the main representative of this line, and B will just be another example, just to sort of add more to my point. I pit these guys against G1 Boss, who isn't really G1, more of his own line and aesthetic, but I assume he's similarly built like bots like Spinister or Needlenose, or Quick Mix or whatever. The differences between these guys surprised me, so let's take a closer look at how these dudes operate and work, shall we? Starting with our vehicle modes. Oh shit, you can see my hand here in the window with Skids. that's kind of funny. Here we got the vehicle modes. We got Skids, Bumblebee, and Boss. So, like I said, Bumblebee is sort of a component of Skids in this argument, in this idea, and you can see the differences between the vehicles. This is way more realistic. This is... and Boss is just a cartoon car. But I like them both. As much as this sounds like a cop-out, I like them both. Okay? So Skids, because of the die-cast and all the components, he's way more hefty, and I love the 70s feel of this beautiful car. It ain't like you said, or it ain't like some Lancia Stratos Lamborghini thing. It's just a normal freaking car, and it's something so pure about that. The blue they use, while it doesn't match in many things, you don't really tend to notice it in person. But the blue windows, they might look a bit they might blend in a little bit, but who cares? Blue windows, and they're dark blue. I love that color to death. I love how this car is so compact and small. The red stripe adds so much 70s flavor to it, as if it wasn't 70s enough. It's got the front, all of it, just the red stripe just adds a shit ton. And the lights just feel super neat. They didn't have to put that in 1984, but they did, or 1985, sorry. But they actually freaking did, the Mad Lads. These 2 blocks may look quite distracted to some, and with all due respect, fuck you. They actually look kind of nice. I like them. It makes the car look less uncanny and more scrappy, well, which is what this is. It's got some of the panel lines, some of the weird mismatches, and I think the scrappiness really does add to it. Speaking of adding to it, oh shit, that does happen. This does tend to untab, but the doors hold it together. There we go. We got these 2 wheels, which kind of highlights how this looks very run-amucky. This front of the car looks very run-amucky, and bam. This is kind of a problem with my figure. It doesn't really hold together if you don't plug in the doors, but it's fine. It's all fine. If you know what you're doing, you'll be good. And the fact that it can open the doors, and it does look sort of like a seat like this, somewhat. What the fuck am I looking at? I love this. Check it out. Look at that. I think the Diaclone bike was meant to get there, but that's Diaclone, and Diaclone, while I love Diaclone, it wasn't included here, which sad. But I like how it looks like a trunk. Okay. And Bumblebee, sort of a similar story, but less realistic. This guy keeps the scrappiness of this design, so I quite like that. That's kind of cute. I like that. They match. They're buddies. They're friends. Boss, on the other hand, is also pretty good. Obviously, if this was a car on its own, it'd be pretty good, but the light piping just elevates it to a billion, to a trillion even. I love this light piping, but let me just not get carried away with why I love G1.5 to death. This just adds a ton to it, and it doesn't look as premium as this. Looks more toyetic and plastic. It's more of a car. It's more of just a plastic toy in your hand, but because of that, it sort of holds together a little better. It's way tougher and harder. Like I said in the beginning, it's way just more stable and hard and strong. And yeah, I am missing the gun engine thing, which sucks, but you know, I might get it, but it costs like 60 bucks on the aftermarket or something, I don't know. But I like how this, just particularly about this design, I like how it just doesn't make up doors, it's just this huge platform. I like how these parts are painted, albeit the yellow looks a bit weird. I would have liked it if it was pink or red, but come on, this is a 1992 toy. I just love how plastic and toyetic this car looks with such little details, just such a little amount of details. And this part just feels nice. This part just feels satisfying to me. It's just a bunch of rectangles and stuff. And I just like it. It's hard and tough, and it's good. Speaking of the underside, look at this. Look. This guy's head is here in the pelvic dick region, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say. So really, as much as this sounds like a cop-out, both are good. Both are fantastic in their own right. Alright, but that's fine. That applies to so many situations. It applies to reality as well. It doesn't just apply to toys. Normally, both options are gonna be either just as good or in their own rights, or just as bad. And everything, you can't just side with one thing and then just hate the other. Normally, it isn't as just black or white, better or worse. It's normally just, I like both of these things, or I hate both of these things. There's just different reasons why I do. Sorry, this sounds like a cop-out, but whatever. Now, I'm not gonna showcase the transformations. I'm just gonna transition to the robot modes because transformations just whatever. I mean, I do like transforming my figures. I'm not one of those assholes who keeps it in one mode and just stay like that. I think the robot mode and vehicle mode sort of covers generally, because the transformation is basically just the same as my thoughts for the robot modes and the vehicle modes. Okay, so here we got the robot modes, and despite initial appearances, they look quite different. You can see here, Skids and Bumblebee, they look more clunky, while Boss, these heroic, blockier proportions. And well, that does kind of make sense since the technology improved over time. He's got a waist swivel as well. Let me just access it. And that's due to the transformation. His legs bend as well, which is way more articulation than these guys have. Like, really, Bumblebee, the noteworthy thing with Skids is that he can move his arms out, and he can move them to a ridiculous extent as well. You know, a big thing about these guys normally feels like they started with the vehicle mode with these guys instead of Boss, but Boss still does have his vehicle mode sort of intact. And as a result, this guy looks way clunkier, but that's not a bad thing. I absolutely love how clunky this guy looks. The blue from the car carries over, the beautiful windows. It's like he's just made of a car. And I love how the calves here transform. That's really clever. The back of the car turns into the calves. And I like how the wheels rotate in. That's a really cool transformation trick. Skids and Boss, this does flap around, but it adds to the clunky nature. Face, yeah, it looks a bit worse for wear, but I still think it's really neat. It's got that Diaclone aesthetic. I love how the wheels here are these joints. So yeah, I love how clunky this dude looks. The articulation he has is, oh shit, that isn't a problem most of the time. I like how I like his articulation. Really solid stuff here. A beautiful clunky look and the articulation. I'm not the biggest fan of the sort of cartoon design because I think it uses too much of that sort of powder blue. While that color does look kind of nice in some instances, not just in Transformers, but just feels weird. And the MP does use it a little bit, and I would have liked it if it had been more toy accurate. I still like the MP. And here we have Bumblebee, which is basically just a nice little slice, just to sort of show you how G1 operated in 1984 to 85. It feels way clunkier, and it just, I like that. I really do like that. It does somewhat limit playability, and this is way better since the materials are much more intended for play. But this guy's still pretty fun to mess around with as well. The die cast makes everything sort of more premium for this guy, and the material as well. Here, the material is way more thick. Like I said, it carries on from the vehicle mode, which is something consistent at G1. It's just the robot carries on from the vehicle mode. Yeah, some figures do have that as well, but with the incredible amount of faux parts these days, fuck you Kingdom Tracks and fuck you Kingdom Rhinox. I ain't like a G1er, but I still do like some of it. Boss, what elevates him, what made me buy him, is basically that light piping, which is just gorgeous. I think without the light piping, he'd just feel lifeless, even though I do like a basic bot like him. Which one do I like more, though? I like them both. I like them both. G1 may not be at the top of my list. I think I want to collect more of G1.5, and G1.5, while I do count it separate from G1 slightly, I might go in and try to get some of the other sort of 1987 type toys, but I think I really want to prioritize more on my G1.5. I may get one of the other car bots, but still, while I love G1 toy accuracy for some designs, I really like G1 toy accuracy. For example, in MP36 Plus, that looks gorgeous. I love that. And I think I would like to get a G1 styled MP skids. So yeah, I like the sort of clunkiness of the G1 toys. I like the clunkiness of the G1 toy. I like the solidity of the post G1 toys and the new designs they presented, the awesome new designs they presented, and the personalities that you could sort of assign to them because they were obscure weirdos. So yeah, that's basically my sort of comparison. I know I didn't pay much attention to Bumblebee, but like I said, he's more of a side dish to Skid's main meal. So that's basically it. That's basically all I gotta say about this topic on the robot modes. So